Let's do it. All right.
Hi there, everybody. John Gumps here with Dakota Grappler. We are going live, guys. It is a Wednesday night, beginning of January 2018. I've got a couple legends on with me today. I've got Randy Berwick, head wrestling coach of Hettinger. And it used to be, I want to always say that the Devils, the Black Devils and everything, but you guys now add Scranton and you got some cool colors, not just black, the old, old evil black. The good wear white, but go from there. And then I've got one of the guys I'm most proud of, and that is my own dad, kind of a legend wrestling coach from Napoleon. And we're going to do a lot of wrestling talk tonight. I think it should be a lot of fun. Always interesting what I want to hear these guys say and what I learn. Every time I get on with these coaches, I learn a lot. So again, John Gums here. Come over to Dakota Grappler and just check things out. We're trying to do more live coaches shows. I'm keeping them Wednesday night between 8 and 8:30, depending upon people's schedules. And I know out in Hettinger, we've got mountain time, so it's actually a little after 7:30 out there. So I'm glad you could join me. First thing I want to do is I want Randy to introduce himself. Just basically say how many years you've been coaching, and then from there, just tell us like how you got started. Not just coaching wrestling, but how you got started just in wrestling in general. Your brothers, your father, your family.
Sure.
And then we'll go over to Bert after this. Randy, you're up.
Perfect. Well, as far as this, I thank you for having me on, John. I appreciate that. And it's always nice to see Bert. He definitely was a guy I idolized, I guess, when I was starting coaching, at that point. But as far as I've been coaching now, this is my 35th season. Pretty fortunate. I've been at Hettinger High School now for this is my 28th year, so it's been a pretty good run. So I guess at this point right now, the way we started wrestling was way back when. I guess my first real memory of wrestling was when I was in the 3rd grade. In Dickinson, we had the schools basically had like a 2-week wrestling season, and that was at all the elementaries. I remember I went to P.S. Elementary. We had this. We had some coaches there that came over from the junior high that was across the street, and so they were like, well, we're gonna have a little wrestling season. So we had like 2 weeks, and I remember after the first day, it was like, I'd like to have this every single day. It was crazy. Obviously, my brothers and my older brothers all wrestled. They didn't continue their wrestling through high school. They both wrestled. Dwight and Kevin both wrestled in high school. And then as they went on, they decided to give it up. But then I did have an older brother, Keith, that was a 2-time state champ at Dickinson High. Went to have an extremely successful college career. Whether or not he was wrestling for Bismarck State College or NDSU or Dickinson State, and so we just kind of had a family deal. I mean, we just my mom was the greatest supporter we had. My brothers didn't miss a match. I always tell this story. One of the funniest things I remember. Obviously, Mom going through, and you'll attest to this, John, because your dad. You obviously got the opportunity to wrestle for him, which is outstanding, which is exciting in itself. But your mom was there all the time, and for me, Mom never missed a lot. Never. If it was an opportunity for her to be there, she was there. I remember we were wrestling the conference tournament. In college, we were wrestling the conference tournament in Mayville, and that's a long ways from Dickinson. And got down there, and we had a real strong conference at 118 pounds that year. But I get to the conference tournament, and we have everybody entered, and pretty soon I get ready for my first match, and kid gets sick, so I don't get a match there. I get a semifinal match, wrestled that match, get to the championship match, kid defaults to me. It was like, driving all that way and to watch basically, 4 or 5 minutes of wrestling. That was pretty much it. I thought that was to me that showed a lot of commitment from Mom at that point, and it was like, man, that's a long ways to drive, Ma, and just to watch this little bit of wrestling, and I felt bad, but that's kind of how it is, and just got into coaching. That's what I wanted to do. I knew at a young age that I wanted to be a wrestling coach and a teacher, and just kind of followed through that way, So, like I said, been here for 28 years, been coaching this my 35th season, so it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate every time I've talked to you. I tell you what, we sat down at some state wrestling tournaments, and I've always looked back at those little conversations we had sitting beside the mat during the downtime, and appreciating some of the knowledge and different things you shared my way. So Randy, we'll have lots of good talks yet. And
absolutely,
what's interesting is Hettinger is such a small town. I don't know if you'll ever get out of the sport. I don't think anybody could take your place.
Probably not.
They get you to mow the lawns at the down at the baseball field, and they get you now coaching football. Yep. Next thing you know, I don't know what they're going to have you coach golf. And
I'm not a very good golfer.
Yeah, you don't have to be good at the sport, just coach it well.
Exactly.
Well, then the next person I want up here is I call him Dad, but for everybody else out there, it's Bert Gums. Gosh, I've got so many great stories, but I'll let him do the talking tonight. Tell me one of your first memories of wrestling itself, and then how you got started in coaching. I kind of know some of the stories, but let's first tell your first recollections of wrestling and stuff.
Well, it was a Saturday afternoon, and we went to confirmation school, and that's the only way we got to town on a regular basis, because we were out on the farm. And anyway, I get to town, and Napoleon's got Don Limness as the coach. He went on there later on to become Valley City State College's coach. And I heard that such good wrestling. And they started out with a bang, and they were going into tournaments and winning or taking second and so on. And so I said, I want to see a wrestling match sometime. So I went in, and boy, I expected that to be like wrestling on TV where they have ropes and body slam and all this. And I didn't understand the scoring or nothing. It didn't look like very much to me in the beginning. But Napoleon flourished in wrestling, and so I got to see more and more matches. And fortunately, I got to go out for wrestling as a junior in high school. So I I don't think it'd be done today anymore, but the coach says to me, how much do you weigh? And I said, 154 pounds. And he said, that's exactly what we need. He puts me on the scale, and this is like about a Monday, and I go out for practice. On a Friday, we're wrestling Lisbon. And there's all one class back then, not that it matters much, because the Class A, at that time, it wasn't a big deal, because the Class B towns were just as good, especially like Richardson Abbey and some of those towns, including Napoleon. So I went out, and it was kind of hard to start out. I got pinned, I think, my first 6 matches. And finally, we wrestled Mandan. And here's what they said: Gums, if you don't get pinned, we got a chance of winning this duel. So I go out there, and I knew very little about wrestling, but look away from the half. So I was looking away from the half. I looked away from the half, and I didn't get pinned, and we did win the match. So I had a pretty successful senior year. I didn't qualify for state, but I took 3rd in the region. And but we had a very tough region. It was Bismarck, St. Mary's, and some very strong B teams. I remember St. Mary's won the state my senior year, and he became a Dr. Smith, and he was in my weight class. He was way better than me. Then there was a guy from Jamestown, Carly or something like that was his name, and we split during the season. He pinned me the first time. The second time, I eked out a 3-2 victory, and I got beat again in the regional. So that's how it went. I was coaching. I never thought I'd be a coach. I didn't. it wasn't in my dreams. I didn't. I liked sports a lot, but I never thought I'm too stupid to coach or whatever. I don't know enough, and so I went out for college wrestling. My freshman year, I worked out from October really early on, and a lot of the football players were also wrestlers. Like Dennis Freestad, we had a guy by the name of Delmar Schwartz from the Dickinson area, and we had some salty teams there in the NAIA, as it were, back then.
Milo Trustee. Yep.
Milo Trustee was on the same team. Yes, Milo Trustee, guy by the name of Linnick from. He later became coach in rugby. He was in the same team. Joe Welder was in the same team there, and that time, we had all these early coaches. We had Krinkstead at Bismarck High, Lemnitz at Valley City, Krinkstead was at BSC, but I meant to say not Krinkstead. Yeah, Krinkstead was at BSC, and so on. Anyway, so I'm student teaching. I took my ribs out about 2/3 of the way through. Boy, the wrestler was a couple of weight classes heavier. It kind of hurt me a little bit for that to happen that way. But so they're teasing me, Gums, I think you're faking it. And I had loose rib cartilage, and it hurt like a son of a gun. They give you one of these garters to put on. That don't help nothing. So I went back and got hurt again the same first night. I went back out again. So I wrestled my junior year, and I went 2-0. So I was undefeated in college. I went 2-0, and that was it. My junior year, I got married. I got married very young, and my oldest daughter was on the way. So that's the way. So when I was student teaching, Ron Kittleson was a very good wrestler. He wrestled in Division II for same time as Peterson from Bismarck at UND. His brother was junior high coach in Valley City. He said, Gums, why don't you come out and help me a little bit with junior high wrestling? And then I did, and I enjoyed. And so maybe I might be able to do this. And here's what's ironic. He said, a good place to coach would be Garrison, North Dakota, because it's halfway between Bismarck and Minot. Well, it isn't really, but pretty close. Because at that time, there weren't that many teams, that had wrestling. And I remember wrestling against New Salem. They were a new program. Tracing back a little bit. Going back, we wrestled New Salem, and we beat them 58-0. And that time it was 5 points for a pin with 12 weight classes. And I'm the only guy that didn't get the pin. We're wrestling a doll, and they have had dolls ever since up there. He was strong. Oh, was he strong. So they came down to wrestle us. And it happened that doll moved up a weight class. Again, we won 58-0. And my buddy didn't get him pinned either. But going back to coaching a little bit, I'm getting off the track here. As a dream would come true, as far as what he said, Garrison. In the spring, his science opening came about and wrestling coaching. So I applied, and I couldn't get out the door fast enough. They were trying to sell me the job rather than me applying. And I got the job right away. And I said, what am I going to do now? I don't know anything about wrestling. Not really. Coaching wrestling. So I wrote down everything I knew. Everything I knew, from switch and re-switches, sit out and follow drills, fireman's carry and singles, and just a few things I'd learned, side rolls, and I knew a lot of defensive stuff, because I was always on the defense my early years with wrestling. So look away from the halves and don't get chin drop. Chin drop is a big move, and we beat a state champion one year by chin drop because we did practice a lot. At semifinals, there was a guy from Watford City. He was a Yessel or something like that was his last name, Yessel. And we chin dropped in the semifinals and won 3-0. But right away, Garrison didn't have any success. I think it's because I was so basic and did it over and over and over again. And we wrestled on stage. So soon I had 35 kids out there. I was the only coach. So it made it a little tough to be on stage. We had to wrestle. My practices would be till 6:30 in the evening. And so it was long hours because I was by myself. So right away, we did pretty good in the regionals. We took a few guys to state. The next year, we took a few more. And then the third year, in Garrison, we had a powerhouse. There was only one team that really was better than we were. That was Belcourt. And we wrestled them in a duel, and we got beaten the duel. But we had an awful state tournament. Had two guys, 27-1. That just scored us like 3 points. And but we ended up fourth in the state. And there was, I said, no trophy for fourth. I said, let's do it like they do in the basketball tournaments. Basketball tournaments, you get to take home the ball. I said, how about me be able to take home the mat? But enough already, I guess, with that. I'm probably going to say that I coached every state champion that Garrison ever had. And there weren't that many. But last I had two Walsh brothers that won the state. One was a two-time state champion. And then I had a Milhoff he placed like fourth, and he placed third and second and first, just up the ladder. And he was undoubtedly the smartest kid as far as bookwork is concerned. He ended up being a renowned doctor down in Iowa, and a tragedy struck. He got some kind of lung disease and died at an early age. But my last one was Splickle. Dan Splickle. He was a longtime coach up in Garrison, then assistant at Velva. And somehow the program dissolved up in Garrison, and they're trying to make a comeback, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I sure hope it does.
Yeah.
So, well, awesome. I tell you what, I know we could go on forever on that, but let's kind of move on a little bit on some more of the questions. Awesome. No, I love hearing all the history because it's phenomenal what we can learn from all that. Okay, Randy, let's get into a little bit of this season and how you feel about last season. Now, it's been how many years was it in between your state championships? Let's go there first, and then is there a comparison between the two teams? Because I really feel that last year's state championship team seemed really young compared to your previous state championship team. Tell me the years between. I know it, but everybody else can find out. And give me a little comparison on the two teams and the work ethic that I know that your team has right now.
Well, I guess actually, Jan, if you look at, I came to Hettinger in 1990. We won our first state championship in 1996. And that was kind of a group of kids that I had. There were a combination of some real blue chippers on that team. Carter Archibald, Cale Angerud, those guys that were the front side guys. I had a lot of good kids that really were just tough workers.
And then the 99 team?
That was in 1996.
Okay.
The 1996 team. And we were made up with some young kids. And you probably remember Mike Honeyman, yep. Luke McDonald, Jeff Boynton, Wayne Hagel. We had a lot of those young kids intermingled into that team. And that team there just kind of learned how to really wrestle like a team. I mean, they were close. It didn't matter if you were a senior, if you were a seventh grader. That group was really pretty special. Then we had then when we won in 2000 and 2001, those guys were super talented. Those guys still, again, Mike Honeyman, Luke McDonald were still on those teams. They were older. Danny Henderson, Josh Epperly, Carter Hoffland, Tony Alder, Thomas Beatty. I mean, just loaded with a lot of talent, but a great work ethic. I think that was a combination of something that really went through, and basically that's what we like to get our kids to do is have that solid work ethic. So we went that way, and it was kind of a combination. But this last year, this team really, and it's funny that you asked that question, John, because at the beginning of the season, we really came in and didn't have an identity. We didn't really know where we wanted to go. So we kind of sat everybody down and pulled in the seniors and I said, guys, what do we want to get done? And they said, we simply want to be the best. We want to be a state championship team. I said, okay. I said, we have the makeup, and I brought that up last year. I said, we have pretty much the exact makeup that we had in 1996. We had some seniors. We had some kids on the team that really were kind of the blue chip guys. We had the young kids that were really getting some great experience. And were really getting better every single day. And it had the makeup of that 1996 team. It was very
Pause for 1 second here, Randy. I'm going to have him turn down his stuff a little bit because that's why he's just popping back on the screen back and forth. Could you turn your stuff down a little bit there?
Me?
Bert? Bert. Bert needs to turn it down just a little bit because I hear the echo of his machine a little bit, and then his phone, and then whatever else is going on there. We'll just pause for a second. But no, that's a great example because what you're saying is it resembled so much of that 96 team.
It was crazy. It was crazy how much the makeup of that team was exactly what it was in 96. We had some young junior high kids that were really over-excelling. We had some blue chip kids that were really just, they were hammers. We had some, I call them the lunch pail kids, the guys that were going to score the dirty work points, maybe get a wrestle back win with some bonus points, maybe a fall, maybe a major. And that was our makeup in 1996. And I guess if I look at it really and I compare both teams, they're so similar. But what I'll say about this team last year was how I watched them from the start of the season to the middle of the season, because I always evaluate my teams at the beginning, look at where we're at, what we need to work on. I evaluate in the middle of the season, sit down with the seniors, say, where are we going from here? We need an identity. We need to figure out exactly what we're going to do, and then how they progress to the end of the season. And this team last year was amazing. I mean, it was actually scary how first off, I'll have to say we had, 22 guys that absolutely showed up for work every day. Then we stayed healthy. I mean, we had some minor injuries. We had some little things that were nicking and knacking us. Obviously, Alec Andrus was our toughest hit with the torn labrum in the shoulder. But, man, he showed so much determination and so much heart for his team that they couldn't help but just wrestle for him. It was crazy. But what I watched that group of kids do was they didn't care. They didn't care about anything outside. They didn't care about what anybody else thought. All they cared about was what that team believed. That was it. They didn't worry about anything. And they understood if I do my job in a dual meet, like Coach Gums was saying, guys were coming up and saying, hey, if you don't get pinned, you win this duel. I don't like to use that. I don't like to look at my kids and say, hey, if you don't get pinned, we got a chance to win. But I understand where Coach Gums is coming from, because that's what we did back in our day. I don't like to do that. I tell my guys, just get out there, wrestle to win. But the funny thing is it doesn't matter, because they know. They knew. Hey, I knew it's just prime examples. If you look at how we progressed through that state tournament, in all reality, we may not have been the best team or the best, individual part of it, but we were the best team. That was the bottom line. We knew how to wrestle for each other, and whether or not it was, saving a bonus point by not giving up a major or scoring a bonus point to get a tech or a major, those things were what they understood, and so it was quite a sight. It was quite a thing to be part of. All my teams I feel are a special group. I really, I feel blessed to be able to do what I'm doing, and but they were really a special group of kids. I mean, they're, and I have a lot of them back. They're a special group of guys that learn to compete as one for each other.
Mm-hmm.
That makes any sense.
I tell you what, we've all been part of state championship teams, so we've been lucky about that. But they build relationships that nobody understands, because they always. I've been told my whole life that losing you learn more, but I really don't think so. I really think that a team that wins together wins the rest of their life. Absolutely. I really believe it. Winning builds more winning. It just does, and you have to work hard.
Yeah, I mean, to be part of that winning tradition, it's not a given thing. I mean, you're not given that. When Coach Gums was coaching at Napoleon, they were winning, but those kids understood when they walked in that they weren't going to be, hey, good luck, you're going to win now. No, you earned that, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, there are things you can take from a loss. We all understand that. Mm-hmm. But, winning breeds winning. It creates more winning. And you want to be part of that. And it's, I guess I look at the dual meet format. I just absolutely love it, because then you can get a team that maybe has some individuals that maybe are not the strongest, but in the end, they can be the strongest. If
it makes complete sense. Yes,
absolutely. And I just that's the way we look at it.
Yes, and it makes a bigger picture. You're part of something bigger than just yourself. Wrestling is considered one of the biggest individual sports out there, but yet it's something more when you're dealing with a team. It really is.
Oh, it's funny. I was just looking at watching some things from Ben Askren. And he makes a point, hey, wrestling is an individual sport, but in all reality, it really isn't. When you're on a team, you're wrestling for each other. But in the end, you got to step out on the mat. But here's a guy that's won everything in the world, and but he just states it that way. I mean, it is an individual sport, but in all reality, it's about wrestling for somebody else too, And
you start looking at teams, and what do you start finding? When there's a couple tough wrestlers, all of a sudden it spreads out. You have a tough 152-pounder, you'll have a tough 160, 145, and it spreads out. They help each other get better as the year goes too.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, having a coach that can still wrestle in the room does make a difference, but having a drilling partner is so key. Just plain technique, things you can work over and over and over again, and somebody understanding that they're not there to completely resist. They're there to, there's a level. It's such a fine line that some people have to learn with a drilling partner, where you still got to be able to do the move, but yet give some resistance, and like a good sprawl. So I have to turn the corner or switch from a double to a single, or a high crotch, and they push your head under, and there's such a level of practice room partner that you just can't compare. And I can name several people that I watched. Terry and Troy Steiner, great practice partners. They honestly, at the beginning of practice, wouldn't go with anybody else. But once practice got going and everybody understood their style, that we had a group of about 5-6 of us that would drill with one another. And it made everybody better.
Right. And when you watch kids that are good drillers, and you watch them, when they're warming up and they're drilling and everything, it's really awesome to watch. kids that, because they understand, okay, I'm going to give you this, you're going to change to this. So it's just one thing after another. You know, I'm hitting an outside single. You're going to give me a hip. I'm peeking out the other side. I'm sitting up underneath. It's just, you're right. You are absolutely right.
So true. And I've watched it many times too. And there's good drill partners and going, oh, they just understand one another in the right way to drill. And it's chain wrestling. It's putting not just one move, a single, and finishing a single. No, that's simple. Yep. Let's put 2-3 moves together near a bottom, a sit out, a switch, a stand up, and then they, going one way to the next, controlling the hands, putting it under, lifting them back, return them to the mat, and a switch off the return to the mat, and then that switch doesn't work, and there's reswitch, and it's a combination, a good drilling partner.
Absolutely, you bet. Yep. I do want to say this, Coach Gums. I did not realize that Don Lemnis coached in Napoleon, North Dakota.
Okay. He did. He was there, I think, 3 years. And then he went on to NDSU. And NDSU wasn't very good at wrestling back in those days. But you know how it went. Bucky came in, Bucky Vaughn, and so on. But yeah, it's kind of different.
I did not know that's where he started his coaching.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was at Valley City. Know that.
Okay. A couple questions now.
I nominated him for the Hall of Fame, which he is in, and I was so glad that I was surprised he had not been nominated by others. You know, and so I looked and but he's in the Hall of Fame, which is
absolutely well deserved. Absolutely, you betcha.
You bet.
Yeah.
Okay. Another quick question now. If you guys had to start over coaching, is there any major change you would do from the beginning till, kind of the beginning coaching to, what you do today? Is there anything that you would change, Randy?
Well,
go ahead, Coach Gums.
Well, I'd say this, I did everything I could do to try to catch up. I went to a lot of clinics, and frankly, I stole a lot from other coaches. As it went by. I always liked wrestling Lisbon because they always seemed to have a new wrinkle when I was coaching in Storehog. Okay, this year they're really big into chicken wings or whatever. They always had changing their style a little bit, and so we would do different things, and we'd have to frankly learn how to wrestle them because we were wrestling them a lot. I guess if I was going back into it, I'd probably have to wait my turn because there are so many better coaches nowadays in the beginning is to wrestle more, have more experience. The things I would do, I'd probably be a little more patient than I was. I would lose my temper a lot when I was younger and say things and do things that I'm not proud of. My kids never negatively reacted to it, but I don't think it was necessary. When I got to Napoleon, we talked about this winning attitude and stuff, and the parents were kind of groomed to win. It was a little different. If we end up taking ninth place in the state or eighth, what's wrong with you guys? They expected to be in the upper, 5 or something, 4, whatever. But I guess I'm lucky things turned out the way they did, and I can't change what I've done other than probably sometimes I'm not proud of myself, how I reacted to referees' calls or whatever it was. That's about it.
Yep. How about you, Randy? Anything?
I guess I look at it this way. I think obviously, what Coach Gums is saying, maybe some of the early years, you let your passion overcome and maybe, get on officials, those types of things. Those things, I understand where Coach Gums is coming from, but I feel, I guess I can look at it and I can relate to him. I feel like, we were going to fight for our kids. We were going to fight for everything about our program. Did we cross the line sometimes? Probably. But yeah, in the same instance, I guess maybe those are things that maybe I'd draw back on a little bit. But I also look at it this way that, I remember watching Coach Gums coach. He's passionate about our sport. I think that's a thing that as a coach we need to relay to our kids is us being passionate about it because we expect a lot from them. Um, from day one, I expected them to work hard and drill hard and compete hard. I never emphasized the winning, and I still don't emphasize the winning. I emphasize the effort, and I think I going. I guess I'm going to look at it this way, and I'm going to say, I don't know if I've changed a lot of those things in the 35 years. There are things maybe like Coach Combs is saying, not yelling at an official. Maybe that changed some of that, but I think what he showed was passion to his kids. He showed a love for the sport, and our sport is hard now, and it's hard then. The parents. It was a great point that he said there. They expect. When you have a winning tradition, they expect winning, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to understand where our kids are. Maybe some of them are a little less advanced. My biggest thing is can I get the effort from them? And as long as I can do that, I don't think I'd change anything. I really don't.
Well, that's perfect.
In thinking back, I am proud of one thing that I did too. When I went to graduate school at University of South Dakota, Vermilion, that's right in that corner of the state. I went to graduate school with some people from Iowa, and they had kids that were like fourth and fifth and graders and so on. So I went back with them to their kids' wrestling tournaments. And at that time, that was almost unheard of in North Dakota. We'd have a little tournament here, maybe one there. I remember St. Mary's holding a big they'd have mats as far as all over their gym. But I started John out when he was, as soon as he could walk. I had him doing little things just so he'd like it, sit-outs. I remember I was leaving Garrison, he was like 5 years old, and there's Norland from Velva. I said, do some sit-outs, and he was doing about 5, 6 sit-outs in about 10 seconds. He had it down so well.
Yep.
John, I say that my son, but he was a pleasure to coach. He worked very hard. He did.
You bet.
I got on him probably more than anybody because I knew he'd respect me, and there was no. I would even yell at him, and he knew that's Dad for you, But he worked very hard, and I must say this: it was a little harder coaching having a son, and at times it seemed like there was animosity, a little bit coach's son type of thing. And a lot of times wrestling with kids 2, 3, 4 years older, and to make him better, and also show that he was not favored, as far as a son was concerned. So that's about the size of it.
I was in a few double chicken wings by Bernard White.
Very important. We'd go all over to get kids wrestling. I used to take my van. I had a van that it wouldn't be legal at all, but it had a back bed, and I used to pack everybody in there I could as far as kids wrestlers, and I'd take them to Grand Forks, Fargo, Minnesota, sometimes Minneapolis, and even Iowa. And one time I got my drive shaft fell off around Wilton, and Cedarstrom from Bismarck High, Cedarstrom came by and he stopped behind me. He said, I thought you had one of those circus vans. He said, they kept coming out and coming out and coming out from your van. Probably had 13 in there. So, but it was fun. But they didn't have any luxury. When we stayed in Fargo, there'd be like a whole bunch in a room, 6 of them or something like that. But remember Shannon Johnson?
Oh, yes.
All right, he wrestled for me. I started him out.
Yeah.
And Travis Rao, he's now assistant coach at Bismarck High.
Yeah.
He still remembers to this day. He was like a 4th grader, and I saw him on the playground. And I said, that blocky kid, I want him out for wrestling. I drove out to his farm to get him out for kids wrestling. And I had forgotten about it, but it reminded me that I drove out to the farm, and he was a state champion. Not from me. I had left when he was like about 6th grade or something like that. But he became a state champion for Napoleon. He's a long-time assistant coach at Century.
Yep.
So that's all.
Okay.
Oh.
No, I was saying, we're going to get into talking about, coaching your sons and stuff like that. But no, there was never no love lost. I took wrestling as one of those things that you're going to get beat up every once in a while. And I think every once in a while my dad let it happen, where we had a kid that was probably the toughest wrestler that never replaced in state. And I'll guarantee it. His name Bernard Weigel.
I remember the name.
He was a East-West champion a couple times. He would go into state with probably 2 losses or less, probably from his freshman year on up. But he had a double chicken wing that would just – and, you can't pin anybody in a double chicken wing most of the time, but it was just a daily punishment for me. Let's go with Bernard for a while, John. You need to get you a little limberer. I limbered up. I guarantee – that I had to learn how to get out of a chicken wing, because I had scrawny little arms until a long time, and there was just so much room in between there to get those arms put back. But no, you don't forget those little practices and all those things and all the people that worked with you.
Yeah.
Question now, working with your son, and he is a superstar right now, and I know that his passion for the sport is large, and I honestly don't know another wrestler pound for pound better in the state. Ryan Ripplinger and him are good friends, but those two, and probably another kid from West Fargo is now 152-pounder, going D1 also. But those guys are unbelievable, and some of the best matches I've seen. Does he have now he's grown so much when it comes to maturity and stuff, but has he got plans to wrestle in college? And tell me what you think.
Yeah, he ultimately he would like to go to college and wrestle. Obviously, that's what he'd like to do. He sure has a passion for it. Yeah, he'll wrestle at the next level. Obviously there's a lot of work to be done, and he understands that. So. I'm real proud of him. I mean, he's in the school at 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning, doing his lifting, doing his drilling, doing whatever he needs to do. He puts the time in, wrestles in the summertime, wrestles at junior duels, wrestles at junior nationals. It's something that a lot of kids are doing now, and you see that. You see Jared Franek at West Fargo, and those are the guys that, Ryan Ripplinger, and, those guys. But there's a lot of kids in North Dakota. I think I'll just say this, John. I truly believe right now that our level of wrestlers in the state of North Dakota has really, really stepped up.
There is a level that hasn't been seen for a little while. Wow. I really believe it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the kids, and there's some great quality wrestlers out there. These guys are battling. But if you look at it, the funny thing about it is, if you look at a lot of that stuff, a lot of those kids started a long time ago, and they might have been competing against each other. I remember Kyle and Ryan wrestling each other when they were in 3rd or 4th grade. So they've been competing with each other or against each other for a long time. And they are best friends. I mean, they are great, really good friends. So but we have I think the state of wrestling in North Dakota is really in pretty good shape. Now, obviously, the smaller towns we're struggling to get numbers. That's our job as coaches, is to promote our sport and really get those kids involved that really might, that maybe are a little unsure But it's our job to try and get those kids to have a passion for the sport. And but yeah, I mean, he's going to go on to the next level and wrestle. I as long as he can stay healthy and do that. And I think he's developed a great work ethic. He's got a great love for the sport. He loves to just wrestle. I mean, that's the thing. But we talk a lot. I always tell him, your education is first, and that goes for all kids. All kids that are wrestling, guys, we have to be student athletes. We have to be good in the classroom, because if you're ineligible in the classroom, you don't get that opportunity to compete on the wrestling mat. You go through and you wrestle day in and day out and day in and day out, and you're beating on each other, and you're getting put in a double chicken wing every single day or every second day, and to compete on a Friday or Saturday. So we need to make sure our grades stay up, and we do that. I'm just throwing a little to make sure everybody in the state we're doing the grades.
Oh yeah, you have to. You definitely have to. But a couple other questions now. Other passions. Now, I thought one thing that I really liked last year, we're at the Mandan Wrestling Tournament, and you show me a picture of your son's deer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And the passion of hunting or doing other things like that. You were more proud of that than him winning the Mandan Lions over, and all these other things. But it was so cool because you said, "Oh, we tracked this deer and he found it," and whatever else. We had one of those conversations. Yeah. Tell me about other passions that you have and your son have too, besides wrestling.
We can't get one tunnel vision. I mean, obviously, wrestling is first and foremost, but we have to have some outlets. You have to. We love to hunt. We love to. Whether it's archery hunt or it's rifle hunt. That was a great hunt. And actually, I did not get to go to it. I didn't get to see him shoot it. That was, he went with Uncle Keith. I was at a junior high wrestling tournament in Dickinson, and
that's what it was. Yep, junior high wrestling. That's what it was. Yep.
And they had a great hunt. Shot a really super whitetail, and he's proud of that. We got it up on the wall, and kids have to have that. I encourage our kids to play football, to play baseball, participate in everything you can.
How about race cars?
Well, I've been trying to get him to race, but he hasn't. I keep saying, "Hey, jump in this thing," and he'll drive it now, but he won't. He just won't go out on the track yet. But that's getting close. That's getting close. Yeah. I love racing. That's Keith and I and Dwight. That's been a family affair also. We've been doing that for 23, 24 years. So it's been a long time.
That's where you spend all that Hettinger high school money you make.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to ask Bert a question again. Now, looking back, I want you to tell me what it was like repeating from 80, 81, 82, the three-peat of the Napoleon team. I'd like to know what it was like going from basically 1 year to the next, trying to become a state champion. Was there more pressure? Was it? I know you had a young team too going into in 1980, kind of a surprise. But tell us a little bit about your state championship stuff there.
Can I ask?
Yes, you can ask. Let Randy ask first.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to ask you a quick question there. Well, we're dating ourselves there. Who was your 119 pounder in 1981?
119 pounder in 1981. See. I guess Jeff Piatz.
Yeah, I would think so.
Jeff Piatz. See what's or it might have been Spurley.
No, I think Piatz was that.
Yep.
1981. 1980.
I didn't.
No, Jeff Piatz.
Throwing that out there, Coach Combs. I thought
what?
It was Jeff Piatz. Yeah,
Okay. I thought it was Jeff. I I'm remiss in two people that I believe should be in the Hall of Fame. Jeff Piatz is one of them. He placed 5 times in the state.
Wow.
He placed as an 8th grader, weighing about 92 pounds, and then subsequently he won the state. He placed again as a freshman, and as a sophomore he won the state. And then a very good wrestler that Watford City had, that Johnsrud, I think, beat him as a junior. And then as a senior, he beat one of the good common name in Lisbon.
Aberley?
Auberly. Yep, Auberly. He beat Auberly in the finals in his senior year. Another one was a guy by the name of Dewayne Walsh. Dewayne Walsh from Garrison. He was first on the varsity as a sophomore, and he ended up 80-4. 80-4. He lost 2 matches as a sophomore, 1 as a junior, and he went on defeated his senior year. So that's, I think he lost 3 matches 1 year, so or two. Anyway, he went on defeated, but it's 80-4 was the total what he had. And of his losses, 3 of the 4 losses were the same person, to Mickey Dakota from Belcourt.
Which Dakota?
Mickey.
Okay.
Mickey Dakota, he lost 4 matches. He lost to Mickey Dakota, and then 1 match I thought was really a fluke. He's wrestling back. I said these 2 brothers that only scored a few points. That was his sophomore year. It's basically his first year of wrestling, and he went into state like 27-1. He lost to Mickey Dakota. Then in the wrestle-backs, he won a match in there too, but he lost to a wrestler from Oaks. Actually, it was from Ellendale, and he wrestled a poor match. I believe it's 6-5. But those 2 kids were very, very good. He was a 2-time state champion as a junior and as a senior, and he lost 1 match of those 2 years.
But tell us about
Dewayne Walsh. Dewayne Walsh was his name.
Yep. Tell me about going from state championship team to the next year.
Okay. Yes. Well, we had taken 2nd in 78, 3rd in 79. I consider probably one of my better accomplishments because we really had to fight to take 3rd. Really hard. It was. We had some upsets against us. Then I said to this one kid, "We need an upset going the other way," and that's when that kid did the chin drop to beat Yesel, 2-time state champion, whatever it was. So we reversed a few of them, but we were not expected to win. We had mostly sophomores in 80. Then 81, we had just about everything coming back except a few. And it all depends how we're going to match up in weight classes, if we can spread it out. Some people had to diet pretty heavy, and if they had the skin whole thing tested back then, I don't know if we could have done it. But 81, we had an awesome team, just an awesome team. But we really lost a lot from that team. And one kid that took 3rd in the state moved on us. He moved, and so that was another thing besides graduating. We lost him. So we managed to win a 3rd state championship, but we had one kid really step up that took an unexpected 4th for us. And Lisbon was on our tail all them years, except in 82, Carrington, who had turned Class A. They led at the end of the first day by quite a bit, and we had to make a big comeback in order to win, and we did. But there was pressure there, yes, to repeat in 82. I thought we could, but it wasn't going to be easy. It was expected that we would, but being expected and doing it, that's 2 different things. That's the thing I said I was proud of. We were expected to, and we did. If you're not expected to, the pressure's off.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to you, Randy,
yeah,
I remember, I don't know the exact year, it could have been the 96 team, where you and Oaks went at it.
Yep.
And you not only met one of the wrestlers not only met in the duel, but you also met in the finals, I think, and somebody got hurt.
Yep.
I remember.
Yep. Luke McDonald. Luke,
okay.
Yeah, that was a tough deal. You know, a lot of people ask me this question, Bert. They ask me, do you like the duels the same weekend as the individual? And obviously, when you were coaching, you know, we didn't have the duels. Started the duels in 2000. You know, people ask me, well, how do you feel about that? And I'm like, I love them. I absolutely love them. Whether, you know, we've been pretty fortunate to be there quite a few times, but I think it really gives those kids that maybe don't get out of the regional, they have that incentive to still, you know, perform and get better. And that was a tough loss for Luke. I remember the match. Yeah. We're up 6-0. And we're going into the third period. We take the down position. Luke stands up, and yeah, he was wrestling a pretty good kid from Oaks at that time. We had actually made the finals. He was going to wrestle Reese Bain from New Salem in the finals, and we were in the finals of the duels. And wrestling a good kid from Oaks, and it just slips my mind right now. Stands up, Luke's toe kind of gets caught in the mat, and then they kind of fall awkwardly, and he, you know, oh, well, we take an injury time, and Doc Kilwine was coaching with me at the time, and tape it up, and you could just see that he, you know, I said, Luke, you know, he's like, Coach, I got to go, and he had to stand up after that. Knee went out. We were out of injury time. Match. We lose in the duel. Oaks wins the state championship in the duel. We win the individual side of the championship. But it was unfortunate for Luke McDonald to not get an opportunity to wrestle for an individual state title. Whether or not we won the team state title, that was great. But for him to have the opportunity to wrestle for an individual state championship for himself, him and Reese Bean had some fantastic matches throughout their whole career. And we had lost.
That was quite a tournament. I remember it really well. It was such a toss-up back and forth. And I thought it was one of the better state tournaments I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it was kind of funny because we actually, I believe at the end of the season, they had their rankings out at the end of the season. I believe we were ranked like number 5. And I remember us, when we left the gym, I told the guys, that was actually in 2000, that year that Luke got hurt. But in 96, we were talking 96, that tournament was amazing because we were ranked like number 5. Lisbon was ranked number 1, or maybe it was Hillsboro. Came down to we had taken the lead with Cale Dangerud winning at 152, and then Hillsboro still had a chance to beat us, and they had actually 3 guys going yet. They had the Mueller kid.
Yeah.
And then they had the Duffy twins. They still had those guys going. And if they win all 3, they win. So it comes up where I believe the first one up was the Mueller kid. I think he was the ball. He wins, and so they close the gap. Now they get into where they have Morris and I can't remember the other Duffy's name, but they had both of those guys back to back, and it comes off where the first one has to wrestle Danny Mogan.
Oh yeah.
Danny wins from Kenmare.
Yes, I remember.
Yep. So Danny wins. And then they still have a chance to beat us if they get a fall. Well, the next Duffy has to wrestle Jeremy Engelhardt. And Jeremy,
Yes.
the year before, wrestled in Napoleon. This year, he was wrestling in Lemoore.
It was vice versa. He was in Lemoore and went to Napoleon.
Okay. And so we had him, and so they both lose. But the funny thing is nobody saw Lisbon. All of a sudden, Lisbon had a chance to win, and they end up losing like at 189. They end up losing. We end up winning 102.5 to 99. That was fun.
Oh gosh. You know, Watford City had that winning streak the very beginning. The first year of coaching, the first year of Class B.
Yeah.
And so I have not missed a state tournament ever in Class B. And I almost did a couple of years ago. Wayne Shearer was a former wrestler of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And he went down to South Dakota and Wagner and had a heck of a program. They won state championships and all this stuff. And he was inducted into the South Dakota Hall of Fame. And I'm not sure, but maybe Barry nominated him. Barry, he wrestled for me, but it was nice I think Barry McCleary nominated him to be in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. So he said, I'd like for you to give me the award. And I was so sick that year. I was healthy. So I went just the last day.
I remember.
I walk into Fargo, my wife and I said, I'm glad I came. It's just like the lights, and it all flashes back to you. And you say, how could I ever miss this? You know? And I'm going to go as long as I possibly can.
Good for you.
I just love the state tournament. And I like Fargo, by the way.
Absolutely.
I think nothing wrong against Bismarck. They put on a good tournament. But I really like that facility in Fargo.
Yep.
I know, I really like it. It's a long ways from here.
It really is. It's the best atmosphere for the kids. You're right. So I'm going to ask you a question. Between you and Frank Fish, who's been going to the state tournament longer?
Well, I tell you what, I went to graduate school the year that they turned Class B, Watford City.
Okay.
And I had a lot of good kids coming back at Garrison. So I make the trip from Vermilion, South Dakota, and get as far as Fargo, and I stay overnight. And I get up in the morning, there's a snowstorm.
Oh.
But I didn't think it was that bad. I take off from Fargo, and I get as far as Mapleton.
Oh, yeah.
It's not far out of Fargo. So I pull in, and, well, there's nothing here. There's a little bar open. So I sit in the bar, and he said it's supposed to be going through. And as advertised, it blew through, and I got to Valley City. It was in Valley City back then yet.
Yeah.
Valley State tournament. So I didn't miss it that year. So, well, Frank is older than I am.
Okay.
Frank is older, but he has not made any more Class B tournaments because there haven't been any more. I went the first year there was one. And I even went the year I went to graduate school, so I think we're tied.
Oh, good.
But I tell you, another guy that's made everyone is Garland. Not Garland, but long-time assistant at Oaks.
Rod Garland.
Ron Garland.
Yep.
Yeah, Rod Garland. We knew each other in college. He wrestled Valley City too.
Yep.
He was
Ron's a good guy.
He wasn't very big then either. I think he wrestled like the lowest weight class they have. Yeah.
No, I talked to him just a couple weeks ago.
But I forgot about Frank Fish. I think I know he's made everyone also.
Yeah,
so I'll see him on Friday. So I'm gonna kind of razz him a little bit.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Frank was at the Rumble last week.
Yep, he was.
I can tell you one thing for sure. Frank has taken more pictures than I have.
What's that?
Frank has taken more pictures at the state tournament than I have.
That he has.
It's all mental pictures for you. Okay,
no, he's
couple
got
more
a camera
questions.
right around his neck.
Yep. Couple more questions.
My daughter's thing says it's going to go to sleep soon, and I don't have. So
well, we've been on way over an hour, but I got one more question to ask you guys, and then we'll call it a quits. I know we could talk forever. We've been on for well over an hour. Randy, what is your biggest goal over the next? No, I want to ask if you plan retirement teaching wise. How many years you got left, and would you coach as long as possible, or your son has an opportunity to wrestle in college? Would you like to follow him and just take a little hiatus until he's done? Or that's the kind of what I always wonder, what you do when your son gets to that level.
Yeah. That's a fair question. I look at it this way. I mean, it's going to be something I'm going to evaluate. We're going to talk about it. I will be eligible for retirement after his senior season. But as far as I'm concerned, my passion for the sport has actually increased over the years. And maybe it is, and I'm just going to call it as it is. It's been an awesome time, me having him around and seeing what his passion is. He's actually raised my level. I definitely want to watch him at the next level. There's no doubt about it. But I look at it this way, Coach Gums, both of you. As a wrestling coach, I think, far from the wins and losses, I guess I look back at what it's done for so many kids, whether or not they were the state champion or they were the kid that won 5 matches or the kid that won 10 matches, whatever. I look back and I see these kids, and when I run into them, I see them become men, and the sport did that for them. And
Right.
For me, the sport goes way beyond the wins and losses, and I'm sure it does for you, Coach Gums. I understand that. So for me, you know what? I'm going to coach as long as I can, and as long as I feel healthy enough to do it, and my body allows me to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to go watch Kyle wrestle at the next level if that's what he decides to do. I'm going to do that. But I just don't know if I can get away from what it does for those young kids that buy into the sport. I just think there's way too many things out there, and whether or not it's at a head coach level or an assistant coach level, I just want to be there. So that's that. I guess I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. That's good, because we all have that passion that goes deeper than what people understand. I think it's
Absolutely.
You take like Dale Beckman, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
In and out.
Absolutely.
And he helped his grandsons when they were in Valley City there, and it takes a lot to take the time off and do that, but he did. His love of the sport, and of course his grandkids.
Yep.
Now he's back in the Salem and helping out there. He's still got it. He still knows what needs to be done as long as you're physically able.
Yep.
And still love it. That's the key, I guess. I have a lot of reunions. Wrestlers have reunions, and so John, with his teams from Century, and they have a reunion every so often, and I go to them, and I, of course, knew the kids that wrestle. It's a lot of fun, and I'm sure you guys have the same. Yep. Napoleon's got their reunions, and invite me, and and a host of other people, and it's just a lot of fun. And wrestlers have something in common that never really dies. It just gets stronger. So
absolutely,
it's just fun to be around it just a little bit.
Yep. Well, it's one big family, man.
No doubt. Well, I tell you what, I'll have you on again, Randy. We're going to cut this short and have her done here. But I got so many questions. I didn't even get to my list of questions. We just started to talk. I basically got 5 more questions here that I wrote down. But we are great. I tell you what, I wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. Yep. Region 4 is
good luck, Randy.
Yep. Thank you, Coach.
is
that.
not as easy to get through as it used to be.
No, it's
You know,
not.
you know that that Region 4 was.
We'll see you at some tournament, state tournament for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Gums, look forward to it.
But
Yeah, thank you.
I hope the best of success for you guys. Stay healthy.
Yep.
You know, and the 2-pound weight allowance couldn't have hurt with your boy cutting down again from 26 down to 20. I don't know how he did it, but I tell you what, I look forward to watching you wrestle. I'll catch you out there.
Perfect.
And I appreciate Dad coming on.
Absolutely.
It's great talking and listening to you. And
Great guy.
And again, coaches, anybody wants to get on sometime, I'm wide open. Email me. You can find it on dakotagrappler.com. I've got a lineup next week of 3-4 coaches already. That I was going to have a couple on this week, but Rick Mathern's going to be on. He does indie wrestler. He's Mr. Headlock. He's going to be on next week. I've got Fargo South coach. I've got a South Dakota coach. I've got probably about 3 or 4 that want to be on, so we could have a huge panel next week. Come back and watch. Between 8 and 8:30, we kind of rotated a little bit.
I want to thank you, John, for having me on and for the notice that I was going to be on. You let me know 5 minutes beforehand that I was going to be on.
Well, here's what's interesting. I knew you were going to be on way earlier than that, but if I told you any earlier, you probably forget. You probably forget. Short-term memory. Yeah, great job, guys. I tell you what, we're gonna cut this out. This will be it, unless you got any more things you want to say, Randy. Or
Hey, there's a guy out there that I think a lot of people would like to listen to, and that's Guy Melby at Sydney, Montana. Give him a call. I mean, he's pretty phenomenal to listen to, and yeah, he loves the sport, man. So that's what we need. Yeah,
that's a great one. I've talked to him before, and I think I'll get him on something like this. Anything else
for having me on? And Coach Gums, it's always nice to see you, and we'll see you in Fargo.
You bet.
All right.
Okay, one more last thing. I want to bring up a thing that I watched on YouTube or on Facebook the other night. Terry Steiner said the perfect thing when it comes to wrestling. He's talking to his girls. He said, anything in life, you can't be halfway in.
You got to be all in.
Got to be all in, and that was part of the thing I was going to say earlier. 100% wrestling, guys. Can't do things halfway. Okay,
right.
We're going to sign out, guys. You guys have a great evening, and we'll talk later. Dakota Grappler Live. You bet. Out today.
You there, John? See ya.